Bernie, you've hit the newspaper headlines and the media headlines in general today with the sort of ending of your radio show, which has been a long-standing institution on the Isle of Man. What's the story?
Well, they've done it very cleverly, Paul. It's not the end of my radio show because I will retain the 50s on a Friday, which has become a phenomena. And I'm also going to do Sunday evening instead of Ashley Tracy. And that's where anyone who has a request, their request will be aimed at that program from 5 until 8 on a Sunday evening. But I'm no longer a staff member. I am purely freelance. I get paid per program, which is 2 programs per week. And as a result, I no longer get sick leave. I no longer get holiday pay. I'm up the creek without a paddle. Simple as that.
How do you feel you've been treated?
Very badly indeed. I think there's been pressure from other areas brought to bear on management. And in the history of Manx Radio, what they're proposing has never succeeded. They are looking to go after a younger audience. They've got to pull a younger audience in. And as I've always said, Manx Radio's audience grows into Manx Radio. By playing music for teenagers isn't going to pull the audience in. It's almost an anathema to them because we've got 2 other local radio stations doing exactly that with far fewer interruptions. We're a public broadcasting outfit, and that's where our focus should be, is to give the people what they want to hear.
Were you consulted with this or just told that these are the changes coming in?
No negotiation whatsoever. I was called into a meeting and said, this is it. Starting from May 3rd, you're going to lose your 4 nights a week and everything else, you're freelance from that date onwards.
And how will this affect you?
Well, what they will pay me won't even. I'm going to have to, I currently live in Peel, I'm going to have to move to Douglas, find a much cheaper place than where I'm living right now. I'm going to need to sell my car. I can't even meet my commitments, my standard commitments, with what they're going to pay me. I've got to find other work. And I'm glad to say, when the news broke, there's a company in the States that monitors other radio stations. And within an hour of mandate going out, I was asked, would I be interested in doing online radio programs? Of course I would be, yes.
Because for people who don't know your sort of program, it is quite unique. I mean, it's definitely a Bernie Quayle production. It's not really heard on radio probably anywhere these days. Well, is that why they're doing changes, do you think?
Yeah, we have a graph that I've published on my own website, which shows you, in general, throughout the entire UK, radio after the 8 o'clock news in the morning starts to go down. Then in the evening it flatlines. But when Anthony Pugh came to Manx Radio, he's the MD, he came from the BBC, and I was one of the first people. He said, I've got to know what it is you do that causes the Late Show to suddenly spike back up. It defies all radio logic. And I said, I just give the people what they want.
It's fair to say you're not a young lad anymore. We go back obviously a long time for our career together at Manx Radio, and you have been the MD in your time, well, the program controller in your time, and you've been away to America and all that sort of thing. Do you think it was basically time for you to retire? It's just the way they've handled it is been wrong.
No, I don't think it was time for me to retire because I get so much. The international audience has grown incredibly, and there was talk because not long ago I was 70 years of age, and people were saying, don't you dare ever think of retiring. You look at Terry Wogan, look at Jimmy Young. I mean, Jimmy Young was well into his 80s when he didn't retire. He was forced out, unfortunately, by the BBC. But I thought he was doing an excellent program at the time.
But if your international audience is large, that's not making any money, I suppose, for Manx Radio?
Manx Radio cannot recognise that audience as far as the survey is concerned. So it's of no commercial value, but it's of great PR value for the Isle of Man. Because I know of 8 people who are regular listeners to The Late Show who are coming to the Isle of Man this summer simply because of listening to The Late Show.
Okay, well, the changes are coming in. By sounds that you said you haven't got any sort of right of appeal. You'll then carry on, will you, with these, two shows a week?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you'll accept that, will you? You won't be looking elsewhere?
I've got no option, Paul. I have to accept it. And this is why I have got to be so careful. I will not in any way denigrate the radio station on the air. I will do it with dignity. I can't afford to lose those. Who knows what... there was something in the newspaper today too about, pulling back on their web presence. That's the last thing they should do, because the internet nowadays, this is where radio is excelling. They shouldn't be pulling back on that.
You said also in the newspaper you had better ideas of how they could save money. Have you got any you can tell us now?
I wouldn't dare tell you, Paul.
Now, it's well known that you haven't been well recently. Is this going to affect your health, or is it affecting your health?
No, I'm obviously depressed about the whole thing, but no, it's not going to affect my health, not at all. I'll make sure it doesn't.